everyone. Welcome to the Coast. Carrie Champion on the West, David Lloyd on the East. I hope you had a great holiday at the lake with your family. Good time?
I did. Did you find potato salad? I know you were in search of that.
Oh, yeah. You know, I raided a couple of homes. I had a good holiday. I knocked on doors. I randomly just showed up, and they fed me, so I can't complain.
Nice.
And then there was breaking news in the process.
Yeah, so we spent all day, Carrie, yesterday. When's Gordon Hayward going to happen? And then, like 15 minutes after we get off the air, things did start to happen. And we had some twists and turns in this thing. So let's go through the timeline of the Gordon Hayward situation. At 2:17 Eastern Time, our Chris Haynes tweeted out that Hayward was going to Boston. And then, less than an hour later, Utah's team president, Steve Starks, tweeted that, well, they hadn't heard from Gordon. So there's some question mark. What's going on? Just before 8 Eastern, about 5.5 hours after Chris's tweet, Hayward's Players Tribune article was posted in which he thanked Utah and made his official announcement that he was heading to the Celtics. And then 3 minutes later, Chris Haynes posted this picture of Hulk Hogan with his hand to his ear. Let's bring in Chris. All right, so what were you saying with that picture of the Hulkster? I'll let you say it. Hello, Chris? There he is. Can you hear us, Chris Haynes?
Yes.
What were you saying with the picture of the Hulkster there last night? I don't think Chris is hearing us very well. Hi. So we'll find out what Chris's adventure was like yesterday again. He basically tweeted the news at 2:17 Eastern, just before 8 o'clock Eastern time. Gordon Hayward did make it official that he was going to the Celtics. And
live television. That's live television, David. That's what happens with live television.
It's great to see you again, because it's been a while.
I thought he had a delay. But he's just talking to you, and then our producer's having a panic attack in my ear. I know what to do next, guys. Slow down. Let's welcome in someone who looks at free agency with love in his eyes. Perhaps he's got all his technical things working. Brian Windhorst, are you there? Hi, Brian. How are you?
I am, Carrie. Wonderful.
Let's talk free agency. Gordon Hayward. So listen. Last week on the show, I remember you saying this, which I thought was interesting. You said that he's the big domino, but that was before you knew what would happen with Paul George and other players. But explain to me why free agency really hinged on this move for one Gordon Hayward. What does it mean for the East now?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see, Carrie, is some moves that are coming after this. Number one, the Celtics do not have enough salary cap space to sign Gordon Hayward, so they're going to have to make a move. One possibility, as hard as this is to fathom, but this happens in the NBA, is that they actually do a trade with the Utah Jazz for Gordon Hayward, do a sign and trade where they send out some salary, a player to Utah to help replace Gordon Hayward. They have extra forwards now. The other thing I think we're going to see is the Miami Heat, who for the second straight summer have missed out on the major free agent. They tried to get Kevin Durant last year. This year they miss on Gordon Hayward, and they will have to look to fill out their roster. Dion Waiters being the big name that is going to go there. And the other guy we were watching was George Hill. But unlike Chris Haynes, George Hill got tired of waiting for the Jazz, and he moved on and signed with the Kings yesterday.
Unlike Chris Haynes? What does that mean?
Well, Chris Haynes didn't wait for the, he blew up the plan. So, like George Hill, he wasn't waiting around anymore.
I don't blame him. Good for him. All right, moving on. Talk to me about what this means for Utah. What did Gordon Hayward leave behind? Money, rapport, relationships, investments. What did he leave behind?
Well, Carrie, this has been a slow and low build for the Jazz. 7 years for Gordon Hayward after being the 9th pick in the draft, and they finally got their team to being a serious contender last year, getting a 50-win team after building around him with Rudy Gobert and Derek Favors and Rodney Hood and George Hill and Joe Johnson. They really built this team very slowly to try to make it sustainable. but they made a terrible mistake along the way, and that was 3 years ago. They didn't lock up Gordon Hayward to a 5-year contract. They let him go out there and get an offer sheet, and really at the end of the day, that came back to bite him. And now, I got to tell you, Kerry, with where the West is, I could see the Jazz finishing 4th in their own division next year, because when you look at what the Thunder have done, and you look at the Nuggets, and you look at the Wolves, I mean, all those teams have acquired all-stars this offseason. The Jazz lost an all-star and George Hill. Could be a rough year for the Jazz.
Yeah, you say they didn't lock Gordon Hayward up. He's in a bigger market now, and help me with this, because I feel like there's a lot of expectations on him and what he's going to do now that he's linked up with his old coach. Can he live up to those expectations?
Well, he's put himself in a great position. And when he further explains this, I think you're going to see, why he went this way. It's very hard for the fans of Utah to swallow, and I certainly understand it. But he's moving to the East with all these other stars moving to the West. He's a candidate to start the All-Star game next year. And also, he moves to a team that has really good support system built around him. He's not going to have to take the last shot every game. All the eyes are not going to be on him. He and Isaiah Thomas will support each other. Then they've got Al Horford there, and they also have assets to improve in the future. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think they've closed the gap with the Cavs here, because I think adding Gordon Hayward's a great move, but I still think the Cavs have 3 outstanding players. But if the Cavs waver at all or have an injury, the Celtics are going to be there. They're going to be a much stronger contender to the Cavs with Gordon Hayward than they were before.
Well, you answered my questions. I was going to say about closing the gap. I know we've been talking about that all morning long on this network, but you just said something that made me want to go back. You said the Cavs have 3 outstanding players. With the addition of Gordon Hayward, how many outstanding players are on the Celtics roster right now?
Well, if you look at it, both the Cavs and Celtics had 1 All-NBA player this last year, LeBron and Isaiah Thomas. And so you could go round and around here. I think when you look at the Cavs' makeup, the fact that they have 3 guys who fit together so well and have proven that they can win a championship. Also, in a playoff setting, Kyrie Irving has proven to be a devastating player. And in fact, Kevin Love this year absolutely demolished the Celtics in that series. The head-to-head matchup still favors the Cavs. But when you look at the Celtics, they are probably more equipped now than just about anybody in the league to at least defend the Warriors, because they have a whole bunch of wing players. And that's one thing that they are going to have over a lot of teams in this league. You look at adding Jason Tatum and Gordon Hayward to a team that already had Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, and some really good defensive pieces, Marcus Smart, although not all those guys are going to be able to stay. I think they've done a really good job in an arms race for wing players, really loading up at that position. Their future definitely looks very bright.
All right. Brian Windhorst, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us here on Coast to Coast. And I'm going to bring it over to my friend there in Bristol, and that would be David Lloyd. How's it going?
It's getting better. I think we do have Chris Haynes now, all hooked up. Chris, do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you,
okay.
Lloyd. Loud and clear.
You scared me there. All right, so take us. You reported this at 2:17, and then it doesn't become official for many hours afterwards. Walk us through how this all went down from your perspective.
Well, I was hearing early on yesterday morning that the Boston Celtics felt pretty good about their chances of getting Gordon Hayward. And so I started getting a couple of sources telling me, hey, I'm hearing he has decided it will be Boston. But it wasn't until around that time, around 2 o'clock, until I got word from another trusted source who said he's Boston bound. Go green. So I went with it, and I was also told that Gordon was supposed to announce his decision in the next 30 to 45 minutes. Another reason as to why I went. So obviously, with his agent coming out refuting that, saying that no decision was made, all you gotta do is go check out my Twitter mentions at Chris B. Haynes. Go check out my Twitter mentions, and you can just see the onslaught that was coming my way towards that. And I was in Bristol for 5 days, and I happened to break that news while I was about to get on the plane. And so I'm on the plane not knowing what's going on, what's released. So I get to my layover in Chicago, and so I'm still making some calls. Hey, everything's still good? I'm like, yeah, you're good. Everybody's assuring me I'm good. So I stuck to my guns. I didn't want to tweet anymore. I felt like I'm going to leave it at, I trusted my reporting. I'm going to let my tweet stand. And then while I was in Chicago, about to get on my next flight to get back to the Bay Area, that's when I see the Player Tribune finally dropped the Gordon Hayward essay. So it was a wild scene. I've never been in a situation like that before. We had an agent come out publicly and just tell multiple reporters this is not the case. But I stuck by my guns, and I felt like it was the right thing to do. I'm a reporter. This is a sports entertainment business. I'm paid to report. I don't work for the team and the players. So I felt good about what happened.
And you were ultimately vindicated because it proved to be right. What do you think happened here? Was it they wanted to break the news themselves, or what do you think was going on?
Yeah, look. When I got the news out, I think it caught his camp by surprise. Look, they're dealing with the Miami Heat, Utah Jazz, Boston Celtics. Those are all first-class organizations, and for those organizations to find out first, to hear it first from the media and not them, it's kind of like a slap in the face. So everybody is trying to protect their brand, and also they're dealing with this essay that they got to put in for the Tribune. So now it's like for Boston fans, I've been looking at my Twitter. For Boston fans, they felt like they were dealt a blow twice when I reported it, and then the agent coming out refuting it, giving them hope.
You mean for Jazz fans?
It's back to square one again.
You're talking about Jazz fans. Jazz fans,
correct. Sorry,
yeah.
for Jazz fans.
Okay.
Jazz fans, exactly. My apologies. Yes, Jazz fans. So it was a crazy scene. It really didn't have to go down like that. I understand they wanted to get this essay out and do it that way, but if they would have came clean initially after the report got out, I think Jazz fans would have been able to take this situation a little bit better, because I don't think anybody can really fault him for going to Boston. Now,
the Jazz fans might beg to disagree with that. They were not happy with the news, but that's how it always is. When somebody leaves, it's a tough blow for that team's fans. Chris Haynes, who had a wild and woolly 4th of July, joining us today on Coast to Coast. Thank you, Chris. Carrie, let's bring you back in on that. What did you make of all that? That's crazy.
I have a lot to say, David, but I'll keep it to myself and share it with you via text. Meanwhile, let's talk about this Explain Yourself we got. Gordon Hayward has a history of indecision. We went to the Twitter machine and we went back in the archives and found this. At first, he just can't decide sometimes. This one's about Febreze. He doesn't know what scent to go with. I understand that. That's a difficult choice to make. He put #help.
Huge decision.
And he had this to say in 2012. I don't know my picking. We're talking about fantasy football. I don't know where I'm at in positioning for that, but should I get a running back, or should I go with Drew Brees, or should I get Aaron Rodgers?
I think he should go running back there at 2012, but okay, keep on going.
I think so. You see, you're right. You're right, David. And then here in 2013, he's like, how does everyone like the new Grand Theft Auto? I mean, I just really can't decide. Listen, I understand. Look, should he scoop it up or not? These are questions that I often find myself asking myself. Although, I will say this, I'm going to put a little asterisk here. Free agency is a bigger deal than those decisions that he had to make. What do you think? There are a lot of things tugging at him. And he sort of, every meeting he had, he said, I could see myself going to Miami. Right. I could see myself staying in Salt Lake City. Tough decision. He made it. Onward. And he's not going to be a Boston I wish him
Celtic.
nothing but the best of luck. He's made the East a little more interesting, so it's going to be a good season this year. Maybe a little more battles between the Cavs and the Boston Celtics. Meantime, I know we got to wrap. I have one last question for you. Remember in free agency when you were being poached by all the other networks? How did you decide to stick here on Coast to Coast?
Very difficult, but my loyalty towards the people here of Bristol, Connecticut, it just sort of carried the day. So I decided to stay here. Thanks for remembering that.
Yeah, that's why we love you.
Yeah, we love you too. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Coming up, Le'Veon Bell and Kirk Cousins both in search of long-term deals. Our NFL experts talk how close they are and if they're worth it. Plus, we've got much more on Gordon Hayward and what he adds to the Celtics championship hopes. 538's Chris Herring crunching some numbers. And we're going to hear the Cavs' response to the Hayward move. What's next for LeBron and his crew? That's ahead on Coast to Coast.